He was the embodiment of stability, a sturdy oak in the tumultuous forest of life. Jake Reynolds, a 38-year-old mid-size entrepreneur from Atlanta, had built a solid life with his high school sweetheart, Mia. They appeared to be the ideal couple: beautiful house, two adorable kids, and a business that had weathered economic storms. His days were structured and predictable, a soothing rhythm dancing between work meetings and children's soccer games. Trust was the glue binding their family, crafted through years of shared experiences. The thought that someone so close could betray him never even crossed his mind. Yet, there were fractures beneath this facade. Jake remembered subtle changes: Mia returning home later, a faint hint of a different perfume lurking at the nape of her neck. He dismissed these thoughts initially, attributing them to the inertia of daily life, an unshakable belief in their bond. After all, they had weathered so much together. How could he dare question the very foundation they had built? One fateful afternoon changed everything. While organizing the home office, Jake stumbled upon her phone, unlocked, casually left on the desk. An innocuous text flashed across the screen. "I can't wait to see you tonight, my love." A knot tightened in his stomach. As he scrolled, an article of their shared life unfolded right before his eyes. Messages coded with endearments he had not heard aimed at him in years. Intimate plans laid bare, a reality starkly different from his own. A meeting with a partner Jake thought was merely a colleague, a seemingly innocent meeting that would shatter the flimsy veneer of their life, a betrayal that ran much deeper. In that moment, fury ignited within him, a burning fire eclipsing his prior unwavering demeanor. It wasn't just heartbreak. It was a profound anger fueled by treachery. The very pillars of his existence crumbled, leaving him in a void filled with disbelief and rage. He found himself standing still in the chaos of his ruination, the walls of their carefully constructed life echoing the hollowness of their love. It wasn't just the betrayal of a spouse. It was the betrayal of dreams. Their shared aspirations for a bright future now lay shattered, like glass on the floor. Jake's mind raced back to their evenings spent crafting plans. They discussed taking the kids to Disneyland, a dream trip, one they had saved for through tight budgets and sleepless nights. His thoughts swirled violently as he realized not only had she shattered his heart, but she had also obliterated the future they had envisioned together. Through clenched fists, he felt a primal instinct awaken inside, a fierce desire for retribution. The once quiet resolve within him hardened, solidifying into purpose. This was no longer about maintaining a status quo. This was war, and Jake was hell-bent on taking back what was his. But he would do more than just confront Mia. She and her lover would face the full brunt of his wrath, and he would not rest until justice was served. Driven by a sense of righteous anger, he began crafting a plan, a meticulous blueprint to reclaim his life and dismantle the life they had built together, piece by piece. First, Jake gathered evidence. He documented every transaction, traced every suspicious withdrawal from their joint account linked to Mia's newfound expenses. Those dinners laced with lies, boutique shopping sprees, weekends spent far away from their home. He compiled a dossier of text messages, creating a narrative of deceit that couldn't be denied. When he confronted Mia, it was in the confines of their home, the atmosphere thick with tension. With evidence in hand, he laid bare not just her treason, but also the calculated logistics behind it, how she had siphoned funds from their savings to fuel her affair. Every piece of documentation was like a bullet, piercing through the facade of love and loyalty she had spun. Her initial shock morphed into defiance, but he was relentless. The coldness in his heart matched the precision of his attack. "Tell me, Mia, if you truly loved me. How could you do this?" he asked, his voice echoing through the hollow rooms of their home. "Oh, Jake, if you loved me, you'd understand why I needed an AP. If not, you were never the right man for me," was her response, cold and detached. A stone, that chipped away at his last remnants of affection. Those words, the ultimate betrayal, shocked him to his core, igniting a deeper flame of anger. How dare she turn this blame back on him? Every ounce of logical thinking drained away, and instead, sheer wrath filled the void. He had given her everything, the best of himself, and in return, he stood before a stranger pointing fingers. At that moment, he decided that mercy was not an option. He would not bury this betrayal beneath false hope or forgiveness. Instead, he sought justice, a harsh, unyielding justice that would leave no room for reconciliation. Jake's resolve transformed him into a man reborn, a vengeful phoenix rising from the ashes of his disillusioned ideals. The transformation was swift and ruthless. He meticulously calculated every move, weighing the repercussions carefully while preparing a strategy to undermine the life Mia had built through deception. It wasn't enough to confront her. He wanted the world to see her for what she truly was, a fraud. The first significant move came during a gala organized by the local Chamber of Commerce, an event meant to celebrate the successes of Atlanta's small businesses. It featured both Jake and Mia prominently, reflecting their perfect partnership as entrepreneurs. Underneath the veneer of celebration, Jake saw an opportunity to rip her carefully crafted mask off in front of their peers. After weeks of gathering evidence, he masterminded a plan that would expose her disgrace in the most public and humiliating way possible. The night sparkled with laughter, music, and the clinking of champagne glasses as Jake strode through the crowd, a picture of determination. There was an undeniable tension as Mia flitted between conversations, oblivious to the storm brewing in his mind. With each passing moment, Jake's heart raced, not with fear, but with anticipation. The moment he'd worked tirelessly for was nearly at hand. Among the guests, Jake paused, clinking his glass to gather attention. When silence fell, he seized the moment. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for gathering here tonight. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge my wife, Mia, a woman I deeply trusted and cherished. But trust can be a fragile thing, can it? Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Curiosity mixed with concern painted their faces. Mia shot him a bewildered glance, her eyes wide, filled with confusion and growing dread. I recently discovered that my trust was misplaced. You see, it appears that love isn't as simple as I imagined. Mia, while I was working tirelessly to build a future for our family, you were busy building an entirely separate life, one with someone else. The intensity in his voice surged forth, steady and commanding. He extended his arm, revealing a series of text messages on his phone through the projector. Details of her sordid exchanges, adorned with pet names for her lover. Details about clandestine meetings, planned in lavish hotels, all laid bare for everyone to see. The gasps echoed across the room, shock consuming the crowd as they processed the bombshell. Tell me, he continued, locking his eyes on her, if you loved me, how could you betray me like this? How could anyone do this to the father of your children? Mia's face drained of color as the realities of her actions unfurled. Jake, please, she stammered, but the sea of glances turned from concern to judgment. Friends and associates, once allies, began to turn against her, disbelief replacing affection. Friends? This is betrayal on a level I couldn't fathom. And yet you wove a tale of lies that is unraveled not just before you, but before everyone we know. You have become the person I never thought you could be. He watched as shame fell across her features, a portrait of guilt painted vividly under the harsh fluorescent lights. The crowd's whispers became a cacophony of mockery. The very people who once admired her were now witnesses to her downfall. Jake, you don't understand, Mia pleaded, but the weight of his cold gaze burned her from within. There would be no sympathy, not tonight. Moments later, Jake turned his attention to the lover, Chris, the attorney with whom Mia had been entangled. Standing to the side, the man's face twisted with embarrassment as he realized he too had become collateral damage in this brutal exposure. Chris, you might want to reconsider this partnership. Trust is the foundation upon which we build our lives. And clearly you've built yours on a mountain of lies. The humiliation washed over Chris as he stood frozen, swallowing hard in a desperate attempt to regain some semblance of dignity. The audience turned their scrutiny toward him, eyes narrowing in judgment. Let's face it, Mia and Chris, the fallout of this betrayal won't just be felt at home. You both have a lot to lose here. I intend to ensure that everyone knows exactly who you are. As gasps filled the room, Jake moved on with calculated precision. He glanced at Mia once more, a steely resolve in his voice. So here's to new beginnings, my friends. A life freed from deceit. A life where I can restore my family's honor. A life where I take back control. With that, Jake left behind the scene of chaos he'd orchestrated, a symphony of emotional ruin trailing in his wake, leaving Mia and Chris to revel in the consequences. The harshness of public humiliation bore down on them as judgment reigned from those who once lauded their successes. Back in his car, Jake felt an exhilarating rush. It was not just revenge, it was empowerment. The game had shifted. No longer was he a victim, he was a man avenging a deep betrayal. He relished the feel of control as he drove through the dimly lit streets of Atlanta, plotting the next stages of his plan. There was no intention to look back. There was only the path ahead, illuminated by his newfound strength. The cycle of betrayal had ignited a fire in him, a relentless desire to dismantle the deceptive empire Mia had tried to erect. The world may view the scenario as tragic, but for Jake, it was merely a stepping stone to reclaiming his life, his integrity, and ultimately, his vision of justice. The morning sun streamed through the blinds, illuminating the remnants of his once peaceful life. Jake awoke with a renewed sense of purpose, a fire burning within him that refused to be extinguished. He had crossed an invisible threshold, stepping firmly into a reality where his pain transformed into a weapon. The previous evening, in front of friends and colleagues, he had shifted the narrative. No longer was he the unwilling participant in his own tragedy. He was the architect of retribution. As the day unfolded, Jake felt a surge of energy coursing through him. He meticulously began laying out his next steps. The financial devastation that he had unearthed would serve as his foundation. He dug deep, reviewing their bank statements, digging into investments that Mia had manipulated for her own gain, and poring over the marital assets that were now his to contest. He reached out to a lawyer known for her ruthless efficiency, Sarah, who specialized in high-stakes divorces. They met at a sleek cafe downtown, a world away from the life he had with Mia. As they discussed the intricacies of division, he felt an exhilarating rush at the thought of dismantling the life she'd constructed on deceit. The key to winning this fight is ruthlessness, Sarah said, her sharp green eyes boring into his. We'll utilize every piece of evidence to assert your claims. I assume you have plenty? More than enough, he replied, a smirk forming on his lips. I'm going to ensure she loses everything. Jake watched as Sarah efficiently compiled her notes, detailing assets, children, and contributions to the family, pausing briefly to glance at him, searching for resolve. This isn't just a battle over money, Jake. This is about custody, about ensuring your kids grow up with a stable, honest environment. The evidence is vital. We will frame Mia as someone unfit to raise them, someone who crafted a world of lies. That day marked a turning point in Jake's life. He was no longer a passive victim of betrayal. He was seizing control, and the thrill of that power surged through him like electricity. Next on his agenda was the public aspect of his revenge. The gala was just the beginning. He wanted to ensure that Mia and Chris faced consequences far beyond mere embarrassment. Returning home that evening, he found Mia waiting for him, the tension palpable in the air. We need to talk, Jake, she said, her voice laced with desperation. Talk? About what? About your ongoing betrayal or possibly how you could twist this all onto me? He narrowed his eyes, the rising animosity palpable. Mia, you made your choices. Now, you'll face the repercussions, his voice steadied, the anger simmering beneath the surface. Do you really think this is over? You think you can just destroy everything we built? her face twisted in defiance. "Oh, I have every intention of doing just that." "You should have thought about that before laying your hands on someone else," he replied, an icy calmness taking over his facade. With every interaction, her facade began crumbling, revealing a woman overcome by fear. Where once there was a vibrant spirit, now laid only desperation. Desperation to maintain the facade she had built. The following days became a blur of meetings, documents, and strategies. Jake worked closely with Sarah on every detail. They crafted a solid case for the divorce, focusing not just on the emotional aspect, but also on the financial manipulations and evidence of Mia's infidelity. His revenge started gaining momentum, each step feeding his resolve. Word of their upcoming battle spread through their social circles, and as Mia's allies evaporated one by one, Jake reveled in the process. Her friends pulled away, embarrassed to be associated with someone whose personal choices could so easily harm those around her. The world began to see her as a pariah, a woman who wore betrayal like a badge of dishonor. When the press got wind of the sordid details that Jake had leaked, the narrative tilted irreversibly in his favor. Gossip columns ran stories highlighting her downfall, complete with tales of her lavish spending during their marriage, financial indiscretions, and the life she'd built while cavorting with Chris, who also faced mounting scrutiny. "Your reputation precedes you, Mia." "The world will know the truth," Jake thought as he prepared for the impending court battle, a cruel satisfaction awakening in him. As the day of the custody hearing approached, the palpable tension filled the courtroom like a thick fog. Jake sat at the plaintiff's table, flanked by Sarah, confident yet anxious. Each tick of the clock echoed loudly within the hushed atmosphere. He had prepared for this moment. Now, all he needed was to wield the truth like a weapon. Mia arrived, her face a mask of composure, but Jake could see the quiver in her lips. She was wearing her best suit, trying to present an image of stability and strength. Yet the moment she laid eyes on Jake, the illusion of confidence wavered. He could see her transformation. The cruelty of emergence had begun to carve into her expression. The hearing began, testimony upon testimony, revealing the cracks in their once solid life. With every piece of evidence Jake presented, with every detail of Mia's secret life coming to light, the weight of her betrayal bore down on her. He watched as her bravado crumbled under scrutiny. The cold indifference he had felt within himself was now coupled with a bittersweet pleasure as he saw her isolated, exposed, and powerless. "Mia Reynolds, you've betrayed my trust in the sanctity of our family. Your actions endanger not only your reputation, but also the emotional well-being of our children." "I am requesting full custody," Jake stated, his voice unwavering. Mia's eyes widened in shock as the realization set in. This was no longer a game. She was fighting for her future, yet Jake wielded the truth with an undeniable ferocity. "Your Honor, let it be clear. I will not allow your deceit to dictate the lives of our children any longer. I must protect them from the instability you have embraced." The courtroom fell silent, their gazes directed at Mia, who now wore an expression of defeat. Jake stood firm, fueled not just by revenge, but by the purity of his love for his children. They deserved stability, not a mother embroiled in chaos. In that moment, he knew he had unleashed a force that would redefine his future, not just as a man, but as a father. The judge glanced at Mia, the whispers around the courtroom slowly increasing in intensity. It was not just a battle of evidence anymore. It was now a reflection of morality and integrity. As the proceedings continued, the tide began to turn, revealing a truth that no amount of lies could ever bury. The time for reckoning was near, and Jake could almost taste it, the sweet redemption of personal victory waiting just on the horizon. The tension in the courtroom was tangible, a thick cloud of anxiety and anticipation hanging in the air. Jake sat upright, focus sharp and unwavering, as he prepared to watch the orchestrated demise of Mia's carefully crafted facade. Each keystroke from the court clerk punctuated the silence, his heart thrumming in his chest with a mix of adrenaline and determination. He was choosing not only to fight for custody, but also for a sense of justice that had been denied him for far too long. As the judge took her seat, The gavel struck the desk with a resounding bang, signaling the start of proceedings for the day. Jake's mind raced with anticipation, rehearsing again and again the carefully prepared statements he would deliver. He wanted to ensure that each word reflected his resolve, the irrefutable truth of what Mia had done. Moments later, the judge's attention turned toward Jake, and he knew the time had come to present his case. "Your Honor," Jake began, keeping his voice steady, "I come before this court today, not only seeking justice for myself, but for my children. They deserve a stable environment, one free of deceit and betrayal. I cannot let my children grow up in a home where lies are the foundation of their world." With each word he spoke, he could feel the shifts in the room, the judgment swirling around Mia like a storm. Jake's resolve was unwavering as he continued to unfold the threads of Mia's betrayal. Each revelation was strategically layered, a calculated reveal meant to expose her weaknesses. He presented evidence of financial impropriety, showcasing how Mia had siphoned funds and used family money to fund her secretive life with Chris. "Your Honor, these documents demonstrate not merely reckless behavior, but a conscious decision to prioritize personal gain over familial responsibility. How can I trust my children's well-being to someone who has shown such blatant disregard for the family unit?" The judge nodded, her brow furrowing slightly as she studied the papers Jake handed over, recognizing the gravity of what was unfolding before her. As she read the documents, Mia's expression faltered. Long gone was the confident demeanor she had worn upon entering. Now it was replaced by unease. When it was Mia's turn to respond, she leaned forward, attempting to reclaim control. "This is all a misunderstanding, Your Honor," she said, her voice attempting to resonate with sincerity, though Jake could see the cracks in her performance. "Misunderstanding?" he interjected, a low anger boiling just beneath the surface. "You betrayed our marriage. You betrayed our family. There's no misunderstanding here. This is a calculated deception, and it is unfit for raising children." The judge mediated, urging Mia to clarify her position. It was glaringly obvious she struggled, her voice shaking as she attempted to calm the chaos of her self-inflicted turmoil. "I was under a lot of pressure," she stuttered, looking toward the judge with pleading eyes. I thought keeping everything was best for the family." "Yes, you thought," Jake cut in again, an edge sharpening his voice. "You thought of yourself, how to maintain the appearance of the perfect family, while you betrayed the very core of it. My children deserve someone who puts them first. The instability you've caused in our lives is irreparable." Mia looked defeated. The fight within her waned as she began to realize that this was a battle she could not win. The courtroom buzzed with the whispers of onlookers, processing the depths of her betrayal. As witnesses were called to speak, Jake felt a growing sense of satisfaction at the way events unfolded. Each testimony echoed his own feelings, adding weight to his resolve. When the court broke for lunch, Jake retreated to the lobby, his emotions an intricate tapestry of exhaustion and exhilaration. He needed to breathe. He had spoken his truth, assembled the pieces of his broken life into a coherent narrative, and used it against Mia. But as he looked out over the bustling streets of Atlanta, he realized that this battle was only a fragment of what lay ahead. Back inside the courtroom, when proceedings resumed, Mia was visibly shaken. The whispers had escalated beyond just judgment. The air now buzzed with disdain, held under the weight of her unraveling character. The judge, sensing the change in atmosphere, pressed onward. "Ms. Reynolds," she began, her tone resolute, "your behavior throughout this marriage raises serious concerns regarding your capability as a primary custodian. You may have a chance to prove your case, but your past actions do not paint a picture of a responsible parent." Jake could see the defeat seep into Mia's eyes, and it fueled his resolve further. Her attempts to rally were faltering. The turning tide, previously in her favor, now shifted firmly to his side, like the inevitability of the morning sun chasing away a lingering fog. In the next segment, the judge called for a break, purling through the folders of evidence as Jake stood quietly in his corner. He could see Mia's defeated frame hunched over, clutching her attorney's shoulder for comfort as they navigated the forthcoming storm. And then it happened. Mia stepped forward, her eyes darting nervously around, whispering something to Chris, a silent plea that he quickly intercepted. In that moment, Jake caught a glimpse of the tension within them. The love affair had now spiraled into an unwanted spectacle, and Chris, who once stood gallantly in Mia's corner, was starting to dissolve under the pressure. "I won't be silenced," Jake declared audibly, steering back towards the front as the judge took her seat once again. "Your Honor, I believe it's essential to consider not only the emotional, but also the financial implications of what my children may endure." With that statement, he resumed his stand, visualizing the triumph awaiting him on the other side. The final pieces of his strategy were falling into place as the afternoon wore on, building to a peak that he could almost taste. The forensic accountant brought forth damning revelations exhibiting Mia's financial extrications, a startling conclusion drawn from transactional evidence. It illustrated with clarity how Mia had leveraged fund diversion with precision, an indicator of her willingness to betray her marital responsibilities for personal fulfillment. The shifts in the courtroom were palpable as the audience began to understand the full breadth of Mia's deception. It was no longer just about custody. It was about integrity, character, and the foundation upon which family was built. Jake intended to dismantle the remnants of Mia's treachery brick by brick. Finally, as the day rounded to an end, Jake steeled himself for the final arguments. This was the culmination of everything he had endured, the raw emotion of betrayal distilled into a fierce defense for his children's future. Your Honor, I stand in front of this court not merely as a husband scorned, but as a man refusing to allow his children to be victimized by a facade. This is about their well-being, their future, their right to grow up in an environment that teaches them love, not deceit. I ask for full custody, not just as a legal claim, but as a soldier for our family, someone ready to protect them from the storm that has raged. The gavel echoed, striking down the final nail in Mia's coffin. Jake felt the electric thrill of victory as he realized the scope of his transformation. From the betrayed husband to a man prepared to reclaim his life in a world where trust had become a commodity. The wait for the judge's ruling was almost unbearable, but one truth rose above all. He had fought. He had risen from the ashes, found his strength, and he finally had a sense of control over the chaos that had engulfed his life. This chapter wasn't just about the end of their union. It marked the beginning of a new legacy, one rooted solely in the resilience and future happiness he could provide for his children, free from the chains of betrayal. The courtroom echoed with a heavy silence, the spectral remnants of tension lingering in the air as Jake awaited the judge's ruling, arms crossed, eyes fixed forward. The anticipation created a sense of urgency that was almost palpable. His heart thumped loudly as he imagined the life that lay ahead, one free of deception, brimming with hope and stability for his children. Mia's anxious glances shifted from side to side, revealing a woman grappling with a rapidly evaporating grip on her future. The courtroom, once filled with a sense of her untouchable majesty, now appeared to echo the beginnings of her downfall. The emotional weight of the day pressed down upon her, a pressure that crushed her facade of composure. After reviewing the testimonials and evidence presented, the judge began, her voice echoing across the courtroom, pulling everyone back to the present moment. The court finds that the allegations regarding financial misconduct and the nature of the home environment provided by Ms. Reynolds have merit. The words pierced through Jake, a bolt of adrenaline coursing through him. He fought to maintain his composure, to rein in the swell of emotion threatening to overwhelm him. This was what he had envisioned. Justice served, a light at the end of the dark tunnel Mia had shrouded their lives in. Mia, the judge continued, looking directly at her, it seems there are serious questions concerning your fitness as a custodian for the children. While I recognize your desire to be an integral part of their lives, the evidence suggests that your choices indicate significant irresponsibility. We must consider the best interests of the children above all. Mia's face shifted from one of defiance to palpable panic as the realization set in. The loss of control washed over her like cold water, dousing the embers of her once invincible spirit. This was war, and she had lost her allies. Jake's heart raced as he looked down, recalling the cosmic weight of this moment. Every sleepless night, every ounce of preparation, all of it culminated in this very instant. He could already envision the conversations with his children, unburdened from the shadows under which they had been living. The prospect of protecting them and nurturing their potential excited him. Finally, the judge rose, her voice firm and deliberate. Therefore, based upon the evidence and testimony provided in this matter, I adhere to the recommendation for full custody to the father, with supervised visitation for the mother, contingent upon a complete reevaluation of her financial situation and behavior over the next 6 months. The gavel struck down with a definitive clang, its sharpness resonating in Jake's ears as he processed the ruling. Relief washed over him in waves, a tide of emotion that threatened to collapse him under its weight. But instead, it fortified him, transforming his earlier regret into vindication. Around him, murmurs rippled like a chorus through the courtroom. He could feel Mia's gaze fix upon him, an all-consuming blend of fury and desperation. The visceral hatred glimmering in her eyes told him everything he needed to know. She vehemently rejected defeat, refusing to concede the shattered reality of her life. As her attorney spoke quickly on her behalf, Jake stepped away, granting her the space her wrath demanded. But the victory felt sweeter for the distance. All her power, her manipulation, it had been stripped in front of everyone she once called allies. Mia had taken the wrong course in her fight against him, igniting his resolution like never before. "Jake," he heard a voice murmur beside him, breaking through the haze. It was Sarah, her sharp gaze cutting through the chaos. "Are you all right? You did it. You won." He nodded slowly, allowing himself a rare smile, catharsis blooming within him. "For the kids," he said, a sense of pride evident in his voice. "That's all that matters." As Jake descended from the stand, he felt the weight of the people surrounding him shift. Sympathy and support emerged from unexpected places. Friends he'd thought were lost were now rallying back, offering their congratulations, a testament to his resilience in the face of adversity. Mia stepped forward, her fists clenched, a mixture of desperation and anger swirling in her gaze. "This isn't over, Jake. You will regret this." "Regret?" he replied coolly, meeting her seething glare with unapologetic determination. "No, Mia, I won't. This is your moment of reckoning. You created this fallout. All I did was fight for my children." As he walked out of the courthouse, the autumn sun wrapped around him like a warm blanket, banishing the chill of the past. Each step he took was imbued with newfound vigor. He felt unleashed like never before. Jake had gone through hell but emerged, fiercely alive, ready to reclaim his life. Back in his car, Jake caught sight of the children's photos adorning the dashboard. Smiling faces that filled him with clarity and purpose. He envisioned weekends filled with laughter, visiting museums and exploring parks, creating memories shrouded in love instead of shadows. He flipped on the radio, a wave of hope washing over him, as the songs reminded him of fresh beginnings. The road stretched ahead, winding and unpredictable. Jake knew that the road to healing for his children would require patience, understanding, and a gentle guiding hand. A journey he was now prepared to lead. The battle had awakened strengths he didn't know he possessed, and in that awakening, he had learned more about responsibility than he ever had in the past. As the reality of their new family structure loomed ahead, he decided he would focus on open communication. He would empower his children to embrace their emotions and encourage them to express their fears and uncertainties. They had suffered enough already, and it was crucial to provide them with a nurturing atmosphere free from toxicity. Arriving home, Jake opened the door to a crisp calmness that enveloped him, a hint of normality returning amidst the chaos. Standing in the hallway, he took a deep breath, letting the weight of the court ruling settle into the corners of his soul. This was his reinvention, the forging of a new existence crafted on resilience, love, and honest intentions. As he settled into his evening routine, Jake found his mind drifting back to Mia's face, the bitter flavor of victory lingering. Though her anger might fuel future battles, he now possessed the strength to confront every challenge head-on. In the days that followed, the weight of those moments became a backdrop to the innocent laughter of his children, who, it turned out, hadn't been as deeply burdened by the chaos as he had once feared. They embraced their father more tightly now, entwining themselves around him like vines seeking the sun. Their small hands reached for him incessantly, longing for connection, for affirmation that everything would be all right. Jake engaged with them every day, cherishing their resilience and celebrating their small victories. They began to develop trust in him again. Laughter and warmth eclipsed the echoes of betrayal. As time unfolded, he saw glimpses of hope in their eyes, the light not just surviving, but beginning to flourish. Perhaps in the end, it would be the resilience born from pain that truly strengthened their family bond. Despite the war waged against betrayal, they discovered an unbreakable tether that firmly connected them. Ultimately, they would emerge from the darkness not frail or hopeless, but fortified, ready to face whatever life had in store next, united and indomitable. Jake understood that reclaiming their lives wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of a journey toward healing, clarity, and finally, a fulfilling happiness. The scars from Mia's betrayal might forever linger, but he had learned how to navigate those waters, emerging stronger and more capable than ever before. And he would ensure, through every decision and every moment, that his children would thrive under the shelter of his love, unyielding against any storm that might dare to challenge them. As the weeks passed since the ruling, Jake found a newfound rhythm in his life. Each moment was now a delicate balance between rebuilding his family and rediscovering himself. The house that once felt stifling, with echoes of betrayal, gradually transformed into a sanctuary filled with laughter and warmth. The shadows of the past began to recede as he focused on creating a brighter future for his children. He made it a point to establish a routine, weaving together family dinners, game nights, and movie marathons. One of his proudest achievements was orchestrating a weekend camping trip in the nearby national park, a chance for them to reconnect with nature and with one another, far from the remnants of their fractured past. On the day of the trip, Jake loaded the car, brimming with excitement, as his children squealed with delight. Emma, his 10-year-old daughter, bounced with energy, while 6-year-old Lucas clutched his favorite stuffed animal, a scruffy bear named Mr. Fuzz. Their joy ignited a warmth within him, reaffirming his commitment to provide them with stability and adventure. The drive to the park was filled with laughter, fueled by songs blaring from the radio and the silliness of Lucas's antics. Jake glanced back at them, marveling at how far they had come in such a short time. While moments of sorrow still surfaced, he increasingly found strength in the way his children embraced their new reality. Once they arrived, Jake set up their tent, carefully guiding them through the process, ensuring everyone felt included. They roasted marshmallows over an open fire, the sweet aroma of graham crackers and chocolate mingling with the crisp night air. The flickering glow of the flames cast a spell on them, illuminating their faces with an otherworldly light. "Dad, can you tell us a scary story?" Emma asked, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Absolutely. But remember, it has to have a good ending," he replied, stoking the fire and diving into an impromptu tale of adventurous knights and mythical creatures. Lucas's wide-eyed wonder fueled his storytelling, and he reveled in the imaginative space their camping trip had provided. As the stars twinkled overhead, Jake saw the shadows of their past dissolve. Sitting there, instruments of joy in hand, his children lost in the narrative he spun. He realized it was moments like these that made life vibrant. The shared experience was a balm, healing wounds that had felt insurmountable only weeks prior. But despite the joy of their present, Jake knew that Mia still lingered in the background, casting her shadow. Her supervised visitation had begun, and each interaction was weighted with tension. He had made it clear that the children would always come first, yet Mia's attempts to manipulate situations did not go unnoticed. Still, he remained resolute, determined to keep the lines of communication open, while protecting their peace. One evening, after another awkward visit with Mia, in which she struggled to project a loving persona amidst the underlying tension, Jake confronted his feelings. Sitting on the couch, he called Sarah, his lawyer, seeking advice on how to handle the situation as Mia attempted to integrate back into their lives. "She's trying to play the victim role again, but I am not having it," he confided, the anger from interactions still lingering in his tone. "The kids are caught in the crossfire of this turmoil, and it feels like walking a tightrope with Mia. You need to establish boundaries, Jake. It's vital for your children's emotional well-being." While it's good that she wants to be involved, you also need to make it clear that her behavior has consequences, Sarah reminded him. "You won the custody battle, but that doesn't mean she won't try to regain control in other ways." Jake's resolve intensified. He began documenting every interaction, conversations with Mia, her behavior during visits, and anything that seemed inappropriate or manipulative. This meticulous approach helped him maintain clarity in a world where emotional manipulation was rampant. The subsequent week, Mia requested a meeting without the children. Jake hesitated as he considered her motives, but ultimately felt it was essential to hear her out. They met at a local cafe, a space cloaked in sunlight but charged with tension. The understanding of their past hung heavy between them, but the air buzzed with an unspoken need for clarity. "Mia, what do you want?" he asked bluntly, piercing her carefully constructed facade. "I want to be in their lives, Jake." "I know I've made mistakes, and I'm trying to fix them. I'm working on myself," she said, her tone a conflicted mixture of frustration and desperation. "I'm not a monster." "Then stop acting like one," he responded, leaning forward as he searched her eyes. "You think regret alone will erase your past actions? You need to own your mistakes if you want to reconnect with the kids meaningfully." There was a flicker of realization in her gaze, yet Jake remained cautious. They had danced this dance before, and he knew how quickly it could spiral out of control. "I want to be a better person, Jake. I know I can't change the past, but I want a chance to prove that I can be a good mother," she continued, her voice wavering. Jake's instincts urged him to remain vigilant, yet he saw the vulnerability etched across her face. "If you mean that, then you'll need to prove it to them, to me. But you have to commit. Your behavior in the past won't just disappear. It's something you'll have to confront every day moving forward." The brief glimpse of sincerity in her eyes prompted him to make a decision. He would cautiously allow her opportunities to engage meaningfully. But tethered to those opportunities would be clear expectations and boundaries. In doing so, he hoped they could co-create a healthier dynamic, resting on mutual respect moving forward. The following weeks carried on, punctuated by Mia's continued efforts at attempts to reconnect. A mixture of guilt and genuine desire to mend what she had broken. Jake found himself cautiously optimistic, yet still troubled by the unpredictable nature of her whims. Amid it all, his relationship with Emma and Lucas blossomed into something extraordinary. They indulged in evenings filled with laughter and joy, played games that stretched their imaginations, and delved into heartfelt conversations about emotions. Jake fostered dialogues about their experiences throughout the tumult, allowing the children to voice their feelings in an open, safe environment. One rainy Saturday, they snuggled on the couch, bundled in blankets, as Lucas found solace in his father's soothing voice. "Dad, if Mom tries to hurt us again..." "Hey, buddy, it's okay. You can always talk to me, and you can always trust me to protect you," Jake reassured, wrapping his arms securely around both children. In that moment, he felt a swell of pride knowing that he had emerged through darkness and learned to be their unwavering protector, the guiding light needed to navigate tumultuous waters. As the days shifted into months, it became clear to Jake that while Mia was trying, he needed to maintain the boundaries that helped establish their newfound peace. He would cultivate an environment rooted in trust and love, keeping their bond unbreakable and grounded in authenticity. At times, midnight anxieties bubbled beneath the surface, echoes of past betrayals lingering like distant memories. But every time he felt himself teetering into despair, Jake held on to the poignant smile of his children, his beacon of hope illuminating the dark corners of his mind. Through resilience, vulnerability, and love, he began to redefine not just what it meant to be a father, but what it meant to emerge from the wreckage of betrayal with vitality. This chapter of his life had transformed him in ways he had never anticipated. He found joy in small things, moments spent simply embracing the chaos and beauty of parenting. Each smile exchanged, each burst of laughter shared, now felt like a breath of fresh air, reminding him that while darkness may exist, it is the light that ultimately cuts through. In this new life, he vowed he would protect his own, one deliberate step at a time, a father determined to forge a bright future against any shadow that dared to intervene. The months rolled on, and the routine Jake had established with Emma and Lucas solidified into a comforting rhythm. Life was painted in vibrant colors, each day a brushstroke on the canvas of their reborn family. Weekends were filled with outings to the park, evenings spent baking cookies, and movie nights with their favorite films, the laughter echoing through the house like a delightful symphony. Jake capitalized on every opportunity to laugh and play, watching as his children thrived and rekindled their innate joy. Despite the surface calm, Jake remained vigilant regarding Mia's presence in their lives. Her visits were fraught with uncertainty, unpredictability shrouding the intentions she carried. Though the controlled interactions were put in place, the underlying tension still simmered. On occasions, Mia would slip into old patterns, casting shadows of manipulation that sent up warning flags for Jake. He was aware that rebuilding trust would take more than just time. It required persistent effort and accountability. One sunny Saturday afternoon, the family decided to have a picnic in their neighborhood park. They packed sandwiches, fruit, and the remnants of last week's batch of cookies. The joy of preparing the food together mirrored their journey, a collaborative effort, a tangible representation of their commitment to healing. The air buzzed with excitement as they set off, the laughter flowing freely as they rode bikes to the park. Once there, the kids sprinted off to the playground, their laughter blending with the gentle rustling of leaves overhead. Jake found a shaded spot under a sprawling oak tree and laid out the picnic blanket, savoring the warmth of the sun on his skin. He watched with exhilaration as Lucas climbed higher on the jungle gym, a hint of trepidation seeping through his exhilaration. His son was overcoming the hurdles of fear at his own pace. "Look, Dad!" "I did it!" Lucas yelled triumphantly, his tiny frame perched atop the structure like a victorious king surveying his kingdom. Jake cheered, an uncontrollable smile spreading across his face, and clapped excitedly. "Way to go, buddy. That's my brave little man." The moment sunk deep in his heart as he witnessed not just Lucas's achievement, but the embodiment of resilience, a mirror of his own journey. It was a profound reminder that even amid chaos, there remained a path to growth. Finding his son's courage heartening, he whispered to himself, "If he can conquer that, we all can confront our fears." The shadows of his past began to fade further. Just then, as they sat enjoying their picnic, Mia approached, a hesitant expression etched across her face. Her planned visit that week had been rearranged, and Jake felt a wave of anxiety wash over him. This was not unexpected. She had been working hard to improve her relationship with the children, but had yet to find the balance between guilt and genuine parental connection. "Hey, Jake," she ventured, her tone cautious. "Is it all right if I join you for a bit?" As she spoke, Jake could sense both the longing and apprehension in her voice, battling with the remnants of hurt that surfaced within him. Forcing a smile, he nodded, reminding himself that facilitating an environment for healing was essential not only for Mia, but for the children as well. "Of course, Mia. Just don't start taking too much on yourself," he said, keeping his tone light but firm, aware that this moment served a dual purpose. It was an opportunity for their relationship and the kids' stability. She settled on the blanket, and he caught a glimpse of vulnerability in her eyes. The awkwardness hung in the air, the lingering question of what to say becoming palpable. Emma and Lucas, unaware of the subtext, welcomed their mom with open arms. "Mom, look, I can climb really high now," Lucas exclaimed, bouncing over, his victory still shining in his eyes. Mia's face softened, and for a moment, it seemed that the clouds of her previous mistakes dissipated, giving way to the sunlight of what truly mattered. "That's amazing, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you," she replied, genuine enthusiasm spilling from her lips. The moment felt fragile, delicate, a snapshot of hope suspended in time. As the family shared the meal, Jake discreetly monitored Mia's interactions. He could see that her approach was nuanced, an effort to validate the children's achievements without overshadowing his role as their father. It was painfully slow progress, and while he felt cautious, he understood that healing required effort from all sides. Hours passed, filled with laughter, light banter, and an undercurrent of tentative warmth. Everything seemed idyllic until Mia turned toward Jake, almost shyly. "I just want to say thank you, Jake, for everything. I know I've put the kids through a lot, but being here together, it reminds me of what we used to have. I'm trying to be better." Swallowing hard, Jake felt a rush of conflicting emotions. The words struck a chord, a mixture of surprise and resentment nudging him. "Mia, you and I both know that you have a long way to go. Actions will always speak louder than words. But I'm willing to give you the opportunity as long as you're serious." Mia nodded, understanding the weight of his words. "I am. I really want to reconnect with them, even if it's just day by day." As Jake observed their interaction, he saw glimpses of hope, a slow, shaky path forward, where Mia might finally understand the consequences of her actions, owning her failures without resorting to manipulation. It was a fragile seedling, but today he felt an undeniable flicker of possibility. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across their backyard, Jake sat with Emma and Lucas on the porch. The kids curled up against him, their giggles ringing out like music. The joy surged within, buoyed by the day's events. A promise hung between them, the journey toward healing and rebuilding. "Dad?" Emma asked, her voice soft, filled with the kind of innocence that tugged at Jake's heartstrings. "Do you think Mommy will be okay now?" Jake hesitated, glancing at Lucas, whose sleepy eyes were already half closed against him, clinging to the comfort of his presence. It was a question laced with hope, and he could sense the weight it carried. "I believe she's trying, Emma, and that's all we can ask for right now. We'll keep moving forward together." The day had shown him something new, a glimmer of what reconciliation could look like if Mia committed herself fully to her children. Jake was ready to shield his family from any upcoming storms, but with tentative optimism, he sensed that perhaps a more harmonious balance was on the horizon. As evening fell, enveloping the world in a gentle embrace, Jake breathed deeply, feeling the warmth of his children's love wrap around him like a cherished quilt. What lay behind him could no longer hurt them, and as they forged their path into an uncertain future, he was determined to guide them with love, patience, and the belief that they could thrive against any odds. The warmth of familial bonds reaffirmed Jake's resolve. He would continue to nurture a home where unconditional love thrived, a sanctuary where they could rise above any challenge, embracing life with open arms. The bonds they had forged in the wake of adversity were fortified with patience, resiliency, and understanding. He welcomed the journey they would take together as a family, one that would require open hearts and fresh starts, forever anchored in the love that would guide them toward healing and hope. As the days turned into weeks, Jake found himself navigating the complexities of co-parenting with Mia alongside his children's evolving emotional landscape. He focused on building a stable foundation for Emma and Lucas, ensuring they had a nurturing environment to explore their new lives. By investing in quality time together, he hoped they could create lasting memories that overshadowed the shadows of betrayal. The rhythms of their daily life became a source of strength. Meals at the dining table morphed from mundane routines into cherished moments filled with laughter, art projects covering the kitchen counter, and cozy reading hours before bed. Jake embraced each fleeting moment of joy, understanding the significance of small wins in their healing journey. Mia's visits evolved as well. Tentative at first, she began to engage more, arriving with activities for the kids or small gifts that reflected her awareness of their interests. Jake had stated clearly that the children needed to prioritize their emotional well-being, which spurred Mia to put in the necessary effort. Her desire to connect with Emma and Lucas shifted the dynamic toward a cautious but hopeful collaboration. One Saturday afternoon, Mia invited Jake and the kids to a local arts and crafts festival. She presented it as an opportunity to bond as a family and create memories together. Jake hesitated but understood that this could be a pivotal moment for their co-parenting journey. They cautiously agreed, setting aside their past grievances for the sake of the children. Upon arrival at the festival, vibrant colors and cheerful music wrapped around them like a warm blanket. Booths lined the pathway, showcasing local artisans displaying the handwritten signs of their craft. Jake watched as Emma's and Lucas's eyes lit up, the sheer excitement palpable. "Look, Dad, can we paint?" Emma pleaded, pointing toward a booth adorned with easels and bright paints. "Absolutely. Let's go and create some masterpieces," Jake responded, feeling a mix of enthusiasm and apprehension. Once they settled in at the painting station, each armed with brushes, colors, and canvases, Jake felt a sense of normalcy returning. The laughter and playfulness of the moment swept away the unease that had once plagued him. He glanced over at Mia, who appeared engaged and smiling, a glimmer of the mother who genuinely wanted to be part of her children's lives. "Wow, I love your colors, Emma," Mia said, validating Emma's artistic choices as the little girl mixed vibrant shades. "Thanks, Mom. I'm going to paint a sunset," Emma replied, her face beaming. Jake felt a surge of hope, watching the children interact positively with Mia. Their laughter melded into the joyous ambiance of the festival, creating a moment that felt almost surreal, a glimpse into a fragmented vision of a family finding their way back to each other. As they moved from painting to playing games, the atmosphere shifted. For the first time in a long while, Jake sensed a lightness in the air. They spent the afternoon exploring, cheering one another on during games, and fostering genuine connections that were slowly becoming a tapestry of their shared experience. After an eventful day filled with art and games, they gathered at a nearby cafe that offered homemade ice cream. Sitting around a small table, Jake allowed himself to relax. Lucas, with chocolate smeared across his face, looked up at Mia with wide eyes. "Can we do this again, Mom?" "This was fun," he exclaimed, his innocent enthusiasm catching Mia unaware. Tears welled up in Mia's eyes, a mix of happiness and regret. "Of course, sweetheart. I'd love to do this again. We'll make more memories together. Just you wait." Jake felt a swell of gratitude. Through the laughter, he recognized a fundamental pivot. Mia was striving to foster honest connections, and the impact it had on the kids was heightened by their acceptance of her efforts. Later that night, while tucking Lucas into bed, Jake experienced a moment of reflection. The walls of their home echoed with laughter, a sound he had fought so hard to restore. He replayed the day's events in his mind, weighing the delicate balance of forgiveness and trust as he kissed Lucas goodnight. "Mama seemed really happy today, huh?" Lucas said, yawning as he clutched Mr. Fuzz tightly. "She did, buddy. And I think it's great you had fun with her." "It's important for us to enjoy our time together," Jake replied, a sense of warmth enveloping him. As he stepped out of Lucas's room, Jake's path crossed with Emma in the hallway. She leaned against the wall, her hair cascading over her shoulders, as she chewed on her lower lip. "Dad, is it okay if I call Mom more? I just want to check on her," she asked tentatively, her innocence weighing heavily in her words. Jake knelt to meet her gaze, his heart clenched with conflicting emotions. He had often worried about Emma's feelings toward Mia, not wanting her to feel torn between their worlds. Emma, you can always communicate with her. Just remember, you have a safe space here with me. If you ever feel conflicted or worried, you can talk to me, okay? Emma nodded, her eyes shining with gratitude. Okay, Dad, I love you. I love you too, kiddo, he encouraged, pulling her into a warm embrace. As he departed to his room, he couldn't help but reflect on the complexities of navigating these newfound dynamics. While he welcomed Mia's efforts to strengthen her relationship with the kids, he was also acutely aware of maintaining a sense of stability around it. The following weeks saw continued growth, with Mia gradually stepping into her role. Their shared routines became woven intricately into their lives as Jake remained steadfast in creating a nurturing environment. Mia began attending school events, fostering a sense of belonging that began to heal her relationship with Emma and Lucas. They even ventured to lunch occasionally. As life moved forward, an underlying tension remained. Yet Jake committed to creating an expansive space defined by love, support, and mutual respect. However, just as he felt a sense of balance settling, a looming shadow threatened to disrupt this newfound peace. Whispers began circulating in their community as rumors entwined with truth. Stories of Mia's past choices emerged, casting doubt on her ability to navigate her role as a mother. One evening, Jake received a frantic call from Sarah. Jake, we need to be proactive. There are conversations brewing about Mia. People are questioning her competence as a parent after what happened, she warned, urgency creeping into her voice. Are you serious? This isn't what I want for the kids, Jake said, anguish flooding through him. Mia's been trying. I can't let her slip back into the dark. She needs to realize that this isn't just about her emotional journey anymore. It's about the children, too, and we can't ignore the rumors. Even if they are unfounded, Sarah reminded him, her voice steady yet empathetic. Jake felt trapped between wanting to protect Mia for the children's sake and ensuring their well-being remained prioritized. What should I do? You need to empower her, set clear boundaries, encourage her to take active steps to confront the challenges in her behavior head on, or you might have to consider reevaluating visitation. Disappointment shouldn't have taken him by surprise, but it did. While he envisioned a unified family unit, the grim realities of relationships faced the harshest light in their fragile existence. He understood the principle of accountability. This latest challenge could shatter the stability they desperately sought. That night, as he lay awake, listening to the soft breaths of Lucas and Emma in the adjacent rooms, he resolved to have an honest conversation with Mia. He wanted to give her a chance to rise above the whispers and become the mother they all needed. A new chapter awaited, and it would require him to confront the complexities of their journey together, steering the ship through rising tides, all for the sake of their familial bond. The direction was unclear, but with courage and commitment, Jake felt ready to face the storms ahead. The next morning, a thick air of determination settled upon Jake as he prepared for the conversation with Mia. He knew it was time to address the lurking rumors and to clarify the expectations surrounding their evolving co-parenting dynamic. After a fortifying coffee, he set the plan into motion. When Mia arrived for her scheduled visitation, Jake welcomed her with a measured calmness. Today wasn't solely about the kids. It was about establishing boundaries, protecting the progress they had both made since the court's ruling. As he led her into the living room, Jake noticed the tension etched across Mia's face, a mixture of anxiety and hope, anticipating how their conversation might unfold. Hey, Mia, he said, keeping his voice steady. I think we need to talk about some things. He gestured toward the couch. Her brow furrowed slightly, and she swiftly took a seat, her hands fidgeting nervously in her lap. Okay, what's on your mind? Jake took a deep breath, gathering his thoughts carefully. You know I want the best for you and the kids. The progress we've made over the past few months really matters, especially for Emma and Lucas. I know, she interrupted, but he raised a hand, signaling her to wait. I've been hearing some troubling things around the community. I think it's important we address them head-on before any misunderstandings become irreparable. Mia's eyes widened slightly as she met his steady gaze. What kind of things? Jake hesitated for a moment, weighing out the repercussions of what he was about to say. There are whispers. People are doubting your ability to be a reliable parent. They're connecting your past actions with your current efforts, he said, the weight of the revelation lingering between them. I thought we were moving past that. I've been trying hard, she protested, her voice tinged with frustration. This isn't about what you thought, Jake replied firmly but kindly. It's about proving to the kids and to the world that you are committed to rebuilding trust. They need to see that you want to be their mother and that you're ready to put in the work. I can't let the kids get hurt by what others are saying. Mia gulped, visibly processing the words. What do you want me to do? How can I show them and everyone else that I'm serious? I need you to be vigilant, Jake suggested, a sense of purpose igniting between them. Consistency is key. Attend school events, volunteer in their classrooms, and stay engaged in their lives, not just during your visits, but proactively. The children should see you as a stable presence. Mia nodded, understanding the gravity of his request. And if I fail to do that, we will need to reconsider visitation arrangements for their sake. I don't want to go down that road, but I have to prioritize their emotional safety. That includes you demonstrating reliability, he clarified, reinforcing the severity of the situation. Understood, she replied quietly, her gaze dropping to the floor. There was no defiance in her voice this time, only a sense of vulnerability. Jake felt a surge of gratitude. This was the breakthrough they needed. It required courage to confront uncomfortable truths and be transparent about expectations. I know this is difficult, and it might bring up insecurities for you. But I believe you want this. I believe you want to be the mom they deserve. With tears filling her eyes, Mia spoke softly. I really do. I just lost sight of what that meant for a while. I'm sorry for everything. The gravity of her remorse hung heavy in the room. Jake gave her a moment, digesting her sincerity. Vulnerability didn't erase the past, but it could forge a path forward. Let's start by practicing how to communicate. If you want to check in with the kids, let's establish a routine, he suggested. They need to feel your consistent presence, so setting it in stone will help with that. Thank you, Jake, she whispered, a flicker of hope igniting behind her misty eyes. I won't let you down. The air between them shifted, transforming the charged energy of the conversation into something more productive. Talking openly had relieved some pressure, allowing them to navigate their future with renewed focus. As their conversation drew to a close, Jake felt a sense of lightness lifting the burden from his shoulders. They enveloped the day in a meaningful embrace. Mia would be proactive about her role, showing their children that change was possible. Over the next few weeks, Jake remained committed to supporting Mia while holding her accountable. She began attending school functions, helping coordinate events, and engaging positively with the teachers. The kids instantly responded to these efforts, blossoming in their interactions. In the mornings, they returned home, filled with excitement about the playful activities their mother had planned. Jake actively encouraged Emma and Lucas to express their feelings. They shared their experiences openly. How nice it felt to have Mia back in their lives, while also weaving in moments of caution and reserve for their hearts. He aimed to strike a balance. They could love her while being aware of the complexities that lay beneath. One sunny Saturday, Mia organized a family day at the local zoo. Her enthusiasm radiated as they spent time observing animals, playing games, and basking in the joy of shared experiences. Jake kept a watchful eye, admiring Mia's careful navigation of her role. With each passing moment, she built trust layer by layer, while Jake maintained a supportive presence. They captured photos as a family, creating tangible memories to accompany the earned trust. The laughter from their children echoed through the zoo, a stark reminder of the fragility of happiness and the necessity of nurturing it. Mia continued to show her commitment to growth, attending parenting workshops and actively participating in discussions with other parents. She slowly transformed her reputation within the community, proving her determination to enhance her character. Yet shadows of doubt still occasionally flickered beneath the surface. One evening, while helping the kids with their homework, Jake revisited the conversation with Sarah. The charity event discussion emerged again, and he found himself caught between excitement for Mia's progress and reminders of the conversations surrounding her past. Let's talk about the charity event coming up next month, Sarah mentioned over the phone, fluidly segueing. You know how important it is for the kids to see both parents committed to contributing positively. Yeah, but after all that's happened, I don't think people are ready to see her, let alone involve her. Jake voiced his concern. What if it brings up old gossip, compounding the scrutiny? Jake, her true growth has to be showcased. If she is serious about showing up for the kids, she should show everyone she can take responsibility. Plan your approach carefully, but let her be part of this. It'll demonstrate strength, which, in turn, helps your kids see that life keeps moving forward, Sarah encouraged, her voice steady. Taking her advice to heart, Jake devised a plan to approach Mia that evening. They could attend the charity event as a united front. Later, as they gathered together to explore the idea, Jake leaned towards transparency. Mia, I know collecting parental support is key for the charity event. This could be a great way for you to demonstrate your commitment to being involved in the community. Her hesitance was evident, but she nodded, recognizing the potential it held for her journey. You really think I should? I do. But I also believe that we must set clear expectations to avoid further repercussions. The kids will always need stability, no matter what, Jake replied, watching her process the information. I want to prove to you, them, and myself that I can do this. I won't let you down again, Jake, Mia affirmed, her intensity unwavering. With a mix of anxiety and excitement simmering beneath the surface, they began to plan this pivotal step forward, one that would not only hold significance for their family bond, but would also emblazon a hopeful trajectory for Mia's journey of redemption. The past would always remain, but it could not overshadow the dedication required to navigate the present and future together. As the day of the event approached, Jake felt a wave of optimism wash over him. They were tackling the complexities together, melding old memories with renewed relationships built on trust. And in doing so, they could move beyond their past and embrace the richness of their evolving family story. The hope instilled in Jake's heart reminded him that they were writing the next chapter of their lives, a journey ultimately rooted in resilience, forgiveness, and unyielding love.